So I made a video that was about the response that I've seen to the documentary about Diddy that 50 Cent has recently released. And when I was reviewing or looking back at the video, I said, all right, I have to make another video because right now this one leaves too much room for people to write in their own narratives or to intentionally misinterpret what I'm saying. So this is what I would consider part one, and part two is going to be dropped later, even though it was meant to be its own thing. But anyway, you don't care about that. One of the main things that continues to stick out to me about the Diddy documentary is this comment from Capricorn Clark about Diddy and an incident that took place between Diddy, her, Kid Cudi, and Cassie.
I worked so hard to be able to take care of myself. And I worked so hard for Pud. His life would have been over then. He would have gone to jail for kidnapping in Los Angeles. But I protected you because I had more love for the culture than to embarrass him and take it all away from him like that. But you and Cassie put me back in it after I was out.
I wrote an essay over on my Substack, relentlessfred.substack.com, which talks about this very idea that everyone is complicit in the crimes of Diddy. And what I mean by that is much of the response that I've seen is about how Diddy is this terrible monster. But I haven't seen a whole lot of conversation around how everything and everybody helps enable this type of abuse. In the same way that Diddy was enabled by people who groomed him, like Andre Harrell, there are various men in the industry who helped and aided and abetted in the perpetration of his crimes. All you have to do is look at one of the people who worked incredibly closely with him for a not so insignificant amount of time and see that there are just as many women who are complicit in his abuse. I'm not here to play the oppression Olympics, nor am I here to negate the experience of the women. So I'm not going to let y'all get on here and say, oh, you only have something to say about abuse against men when people bring up women. No, this is my own video. This is the takeaways that I have. All right. So we're not going to play those games. I'm not coming here saying, oh, I'm not trying to come on here and be, oh, this happens to men too. Oh, but this goes on too. No. But what I am saying is that the documentary was a 4-part series entitled The Reckoning. And one of the biggest takeaways that I have from the series is that there actually isn't a reckoning. Because a reckoning would require us to have the most difficult, most nuanced, most uncomfortable conversations about this individual, about this one man, about the industry that he took over, and about the abuse that everyone from all types of backgrounds enables and allows to happen in that industry to human beings. But we don't want to talk about that. It's almost like several times, obviously in ministry, but in other areas, I come across people who had stories of abuse or harassment or molestation in their childhoods. And overwhelmingly, I run into something that's twofold. One is them working through the trauma of the man who inappropriately touched or did inappropriate things to them. But equally, I'm running into folks who are also dealing with the women who knew this abuse was going on and did nothing about it. They were complicit in it. Now, it's nuanced there, right? Depending upon when that happened. Sometimes, especially feels back in the day, women felt compelled to stay in marriages for survival reasons. And thus, they felt the need to protect the people and the men in their lives. I can't get as nuanced into that as that conversation requires in a TikTok. So I'm going to miss certain things there, and I just ask for grace in that regard. What I'm saying is that when we talk about complicity, when we talk about culpability, if this was a RICO trial, there'd be a whole lot of people getting indicted. Male, female, gender non-conforming, black, white, Hispanic, American, you name it, right? It'd be a whole lot of people on trial. And all I really want people to consider, rather, is 4-part series, one episode predominantly about the violence that he perpetrated against men, one episode where there's an equal amount of personal testimony of a man who was very clearly sexually abused by Diddy, and yet I personally have maybe seen one person mention that, one person say that's a part of what we need to address as a community, one person that highlights that this kind of abuse is not atypical for Black men as well. I'm just asking us to be nuanced in our conversations.